All right, very quickly, we are going to do a couple of application problems for lines. Our first problem, we're going to have a 100-gallon tank full of water, and it has a hole in the bottom. So it's leaking 10 gallons, or losing 10 gallons every minute. All right, 10 gallons every minute. Now, usually when you see a word problem where you have an expression like this, 10 gallons every minute, 10 gallons each minute, 10 gallons a minute, 10 gallons per minute, that's language of slope. All right, well, when we start writing an equation for the amount of water in this tank, then y can be my amount of water, all right, amount of water. And I start with 100 gallons in the tank, but I'm losing 10 gallons every minute, so I'm going to subtract 10 every minute. So 10 times the number of minutes that go by. So you can see that this equation is written in slope-intercept form. It's solved for y. So we have a slope and a y-intercept. Now my variable is not x, my variable is t. Let's define t. T is the amount of time in minutes. Amount of time in minutes. And negative 10 is my slope because it's the number sitting next to my variable. 100 is my y-intercept. So negative 10 is the slope. 100 is the y-intercept. And that's going to be my starting value. Now, neither of these can be negative. So when I graph this application, I'm only going to be in the first quadrant. All right? So here's my y-axis. I use my straight edge to help me get this y-axis. And here's my x-axis. Okay. So again, I'm going to use my straight edge to help me get a nice, pretty straight line for an x-axis. Now my x-axis is really t, and that's in minutes. My y-axis is really the number of gallons. All right, so I'll put gallons. You always label your axes and your units in a problem like this. All right, now I graph my y-intercept, which is 100. So I'm going to count by tens to get to the 100. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So here's my 100 gallons of water that I start with. And then I'm going to count by ones on my t-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because I'm going to lose 10 gallons every minute. So that means my next point is going to be found by starting with my 100, going down 10 gallons. Now, not 10 units, because each unit is worth 10 gallons. But I'm going down 10 gallons every minute. So it's over 1 minute. And then I have 2 points that I can use to graph this line that represents this situation. Usually in word problems that come to us in slope-intercept form, for those word problems, the most important information in the problem is the slope and the y-intercept. Now let's graph a line in standard form. Let's suppose that you are earning money babysitting and at a fast food restaurant. You're trying to earn $200. So you can earn $10 an hour babysitting, and you can earn $8 an hour at the fast food restaurant. So this is babysitting, and this is at the fast food restaurant. Then I need to write an equation about this situation. All right, well, I'm earning 200, so I need to write an equation about the 200. Where does the 200 come from? Well, it comes from the $10 that I earn every hour babysitting. So I'm going to multiply 10 times however many hours I babysit, plus the $8 that I earn every hour at the fast food restaurant. So I'll multiply 8 times the number of hours that I work at the fast food restaurant. Well, if I use the same letter T for both of these, then I am implying that I'm working the same number of hours at both, and that certainly is probably not the case. So we can't use T for both of these. A better idea might be to use X and Y. So let's say X is the number of hours that we babysit, hours spent babysitting, and Y is the number of hours. Y is the number of hours spent at the fast food restaurant. And so this then explains where my $200 is going to come from. Now this is a line in standard form. To graph lines in standard form, we typically use the X and Y intercepts. So if I cover up the X, let X be 0, and solve for Y, then I have 200 equals 8Y. And so 200 divided by 8 is going to be 25. So 25 is my y-intercept. If I let y be 0 and I cover the y up to solve for x, then 200 divided by 10 is going to be 20. So 20 is my x-intercept. Okay, so let's graph this equation. Now, just as in the case before, x and y cannot be negative. We can't have a negative number of hours that we're working at either location. All right, so use my ruler to get a nice straight line for my axis. And there's my y-axis. Put my x-axis right here. Tell you what, I might go down one. Put my x-axis right here. Okay, so here's my x-axis, here's my y-axis. Now, I need to go up to 25 on my y-axis and over 20 on my x-axis. So I think I can count by twos and get up to 25 here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26. Yes, and so 25 would be right here between 24 and 26. Now remember that y is the amount of hours spent at the fast food restaurant, and x is the amount of hours spent at babysitting. All right, so then I'm going to count by twos on the x-axis. Now remember, you don't have to count by the same number. 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 on each axis. You can be different there. All right, so here's my x-intercept, and when I connect these, then I will have a line that represents how I earn this $200 this summer. So a point on this line, say this point right here, 6, 8, 10. Okay, this is the point, 8, 10, 12. This is the point 12, 10. What that means is that if I spend 12 hours, 12, remember my X is the hours spent babysitting. If I spend 12 hours babysitting and 10 hours at the fast food restaurant, I will have earned $200 because that point is on that line. Usually, lines that come to us in standard form, for those lines, the x and y intercepts are the most valuable pieces of information for that problem. The slope here really doesn't have any meaning, but the x and y intercepts do. The 20 means that if I don't spend any hours at the fast food restaurant, I would have to spend 20 hours babysitting to earn enough money. And the 25 means that if I didn't spend any hours babysitting, then I would have to spend 25 hours at the fast food restaurant to earn enough money to earn my $200.